Hello, hello, Sarah of SEK Handmade here, and I am so excited to be joining you again today for another Meet the Maker. I have an extremely talented yarn dyer here with me that I have had the pleasure. I hope I can spill the beans. We're working on a little collaboration, and I am so excited to get to know her better. I have been able to squish some of her yarn, which is always a treat, and it's amazing. And so I cannot wait for you to get to know Shelly better. Her yarn company is Daisy Stitch Co. You should definitely check them out after you learn more about her. I'll put all the descriptions in the below the video, all the links in the description. There we go. And so be sure to check out all of the things after we're all done. You're definitely going to want to squish her yarn. So let's welcome Shelly. Hello.
Hello. Hi.
How are you doing today?
Great. I'm doing good. It's nice and toasty here in Texas after a week of rain. So, but doing good.
A week of rain?
Yes, we had some really big storms earlier in the week, and we hadn't gotten rain all summer, and then we got it like all at once.
All at once.
Yeah, and yeah, just within a few days.
I was gonna say that's a lot. A bunch of rain is probably really good for you, except for I lived in Tucson for a while, which I don't. Depending on where you are in Texas, could be like along the same line or totally different. But when you don't get rain for a very long time and then you get a lot of rain, then everything just floods and nothing really soaks in because the ground is so hard.
Yes, there were some areas, I live near Dallas. There were some areas of Dallas that flooded pretty badly. But I think everything is kind of abated and getting cleaned up in those areas. But for where I live, we were just enjoying the good soak.
Yeah. So when you say hot, how hot?
Well, today it's 90, which is actually kind of cool for August. We've had a really hot summer. It's been in the hundreds. I think we've got up to 109 one day. Yeah.
Extremely There's just no avoiding that. Humidity or not, 109 is really stinking hot.
It's ridiculous. Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
We're just kind of hanging indoors and keeping cool.
Yeah. When we lived in Arizona, I always told people the summer was kind of like the winter here in the Midwest. In the Midwest, you hit a point where it's just too cold and you do not go outside.
Right.
And in the southern desert, it gets to a point where it's just too hot and you just stay inside.
Exactly. You're like, I give up staying in till October.
Right. Oh gosh, yes. Well, lots of good time to spend with yarn then, right?
Exactly. Getting a lot done lately.
Right. I love it. So why don't you just introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about yourself, your hobbies. We've learned a little bit about where you live currently, where you're from, your family, whatever you want to share.
Yeah, well, my name is Shelly Diaz, and I am the owner of Daisy Stitch Co. And I'm primarily an indie dyer. I do a little bit of design too. I crochet and I knit. I live in Wiley, Texas. I've been married for 30 years, and we have 2 grown-up kids. Have a daughter and a son, and they're in their 20s. And I have 2 bratty dogs who you've probably seen on my social media. One of them, Daisy, is where I got the name of. I named my business after her. And then I have Maggie. She's my little weenie dog. So we're a little dog crazy around here. But now that the kids are out of the house, we're like obsessed about the dogs. But aside from being obsessed with yarn, I love to read. I have a bike. I love to go bike riding. We go on lots of walks, dog walks, and I like to just hang out with my friends and family, and I love to share about my yarn.
That's fantastic. I am pro dog crazy. I have a blind Australian Shepherd mix puppy, and we're just best buds. He's my partner in crime. Once the kids go back to school, it's just the two of us. So, what breeds are your dogs?
What's that?
What breeds are your dogs?
I have an Australian Shepherd mix, Daisy, and a Dachshund.
Oh,
yeah. They're one, there are a lot. The size difference is huge, but the Dachshund runs the show.
I think that's a trait of Dachshunds.
Yeah, it is. It is.
I love it. That's great though, because Australian Shepherds can kind of be used to running the show too. That's kind of like their thing.
Yeah,
to be working
and she did up until we got Maggie. Daisy's we've had her about 8 years, and we've had Maggie
Uh-oh. Oh, Shelly. Oh, I think she froze. Okay. Let me see.
Oh,
there we go.
Sorry. But anyway, I was saying, before Maggie came along, Daisy was the boss of the house. But
I love it. That's fun. So you knit and you crochet, which I love. I also knit and crochet, and I'm a pro everybody doing all the crafts. When did you learn which did you learn first, knitting or crocheting, and how did you learn?
I learned to crochet when I was a kid. I was probably 9 or 10, and my grandmother was a crocheter, and I would bug her when she was sitting there crocheting. So finally she gave me a hook and yarn and taught me how to chain. And she's like, just sit there and chain. Yeah, just do that. And I did that for a long time before she taught me how to single crochet and then how to double crochet. So I learned from her, and she made so many blankets. She made one for every member of the family. And I have a few of her blankets that she made. So those are really special to me. And I kind of kept up with it off and on as I was growing up. And when my kids are little, I taught my daughter to crochet. But then about 4 or 5 years ago, I guess I had more time because my kids were grown up and off to college and everything, and I had more time. So I really got the crochet bug and started dabbling in a few designs. The designing started because I had something in my mind and I couldn't find a pattern for it. So I was like, well, I'll just try making it, So, but then about 2 years ago, I learned how to knit. I took a knitting class at a local yarn shop and learned how to knit. Heather Kelly was my teacher, and she's also a yarn dyer too. But I was so glad that I did that. It's added so much, so many choices to be able to do both, because you see something cute and you're like, oh, I could, it's either crochet or knit. It doesn't matter because you know how to do both. And it's also opened up a lot for my yarn dyeing, because now I can have swatches and knit and crochet and see what they're going to look like. So my customers can have an idea whether they're knitting or crocheting, how things are going to look.
I love that. Yes, I have lots of friends who just crochet and they see things and they go, oh, it's knit. And I think, I can do both.
Yeah,
it's really fun, right? To be able to see anything and think, it doesn't matter if it's knit or crochet. I can make it if I want to.
Yeah, exactly. It's nice. It's nice to have that extra tool, And of course, then that led going down the rabbit hole of all the knitting needles and all the notions and all that. So in the past 2 years, I probably have knit more than I've crocheted. But lately I've crocheted a few more projects. So, but yeah, it's nice to have all those at hand.
Yes, absolutely. So how did you, I assume you moved from crocheting and knitting into yarn dyeing.
Yeah.
How did
So
you get into yarn dyeing?
a few years, I guess it's been about 4 years ago, I saw someone on Instagram just like doing a tutorial, and they were doing there's a video out there. It's they use Kool-Aid,
Mm-hmm.
and I was very intrigued by that. So I was like, I'm going to try it. Well, why not? I always like to try. I've dabbled in many other crafts too. So I am always intrigued and I always try them, because why not? If it doesn't work out, no big deal. But I tried it, and then I loved it so much. It was such a great creative expression to be able to put these colors in your head on the yarn. And it's been so rewarding. So I dabbled a little bit, and then I started putting some, I had an Etsy shop at the time and started putting some in that. And it's really just grown from then. Well, about then is when the pandemic hit. And that's when my business kind of took off. I think because more people are at home and they want to learn to knit, or they have time to crochet or whatever, or, they really started getting into hand-dyed yarn. And that was when things were like, oh, wow, this is like a serious business, and it's just grown from there, and it's just so rewarding, and I love it. As a small business owner, things can get hectic and crazy, but in the end, like, I get to work from my home and create these beautiful things. Like, it's just I'm so blessed to be able to do that.
That's so cool. So did you find lots of tutorials to follow when you were first learning, or did you just kind of dive in and see what works and see what doesn't? And
yeah, I watched a lot of YouTube videos, and then I researched kind of the science part of it. That was another thing that intrigued me, was kind of the math and science involved. It was kind of a nice marriage of creativity and science and math. So I watched a lot of those videos, and then in the end, and I think if anyone else that's a dyer, you realize you create your own methods and your own processes. The science of it is pretty steady, but there's different ways to do different types of yarn and how much color you want. And I could geek out about this all day, but so yeah, I did a lot of research, a lot of practice. I dyed a lot of skeins that I was like, I don't know what I was thinking there, but in a lot of it, it turns out good, even though it's not what you're thinking you want. Then, but you're still like, oh wow, it's still pretty,
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I feel like with most crafts, you kind of start off with like the basic foundation, but then you kind of find your own flow and your own method. And I love watching crocheters who crochet differently than me, whether it's how they hold their yarn or how they hold their hook or how they like maneuver. And so like we can kind of get to, in some ways, those sorts of things are incredibly similar. And in some ways, they're incredibly unique.
Exactly. Well, I'm a left-hander. And so for crocheting, a lot of times I just have to, wing it with the patterns. But, if it's written to look a certain way, right-handed, a lot of times I just go with it, and it's the mirror image, if it's a certain, color work or something. but I still like it. So
Yeah, that's fun. Okay, so I have to ask. I teach some crochet, and I was surprised to find a left-hander a couple weeks ago at my class, and I was like, oh, totally unprepared. Was your grandma left-handed?
No, she was right-handed.
And you still learned left-handed though.
And I still did. I think because she was like, just do the chain. Like we started off so slow, and there was tons of chains. Like my mom for Mother's Day, here's a chain. It was. I think because I started off so slowly and repetitive, I was able to translate it over from right-handed. Because, and then once I learned single crochet, I'm doing a ton of pot holders, and all that stuff. So I think starting slow is very, very helpful when it comes to that.
Yeah. So where do you take going back to yarn dyeing, where do you take your inspiration from for colors once you kind of have figured out your method for dyeing? What do you look to for inspiration?
I mean, all over. A lot of my inspiration comes from nature. A lot of seasonal things. I got a few years ago, I saw a gorgeous picture of a fig. It was like, for the holidays, and I got obsessed with, I need to recreate that. Like, how can I recreate that? And I did. Here it is. Mission Fig was the result. And I get I've done a few kind of pop culture colors, but I find inspiration all over the place. And even from, like, there was a knit along recently. Actually, it's behind me, my Miss May shawl. And the color themes was from the arts and crafts era. And I was so intrigued by that. And I did some research, and I ended up, using some of those colors in this one. This is Zen Moments. But those colors kind of came from that inspiration of the colors during that period. That's fascinating to me too, is I did a collection from the book Pride and Prejudice and colors from the Regency era. That's very interesting to me too. So I'm kind of all over the place. Like, I love bright, out there colors. But I love to experiment with the softer colors too. So
Uh-oh. Nope. We're frozen again. Oh, hopefully she'll come back here soon. Oh, there you are.
Okay, we're back.
Well, that's very cool. I hadn't even thought about colors being historical, but yeah, now that you say that, that makes sense. I mean, even now we look at certain color palettes and say, oh, that's very 1980s, 1970s.
Right.
So
yeah.
That's
I
really
love
cool.
that. Yeah.
Have you always been interested in history, or was that something that you've just been kind of drawn to now that you dye?
I think the older I get, like, the more interested I become in it, especially relating to arts and crafts and making. People have been knitting forever, for centuries, and a lot because they had to. They couldn't go run up to the store and get a sweater, and they were clothing their family. And I think, the older I get, the more I appreciate that. I'm 52 now. I'm not going to beat around the bush. But I feel like since I'm in my 50s, I've gotten a little bit more like chill about things, and like you just start understanding things more, and um, what that value is, and being able to make those things. Um, I think that's really important.
That's great. That's awesome. So you told us that your company is named after your dog, Daisy. How did that come about? Tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, when I started out and I started my business, I was just making a few things, and I'm going to sell a few beanies on Etsy kind of thing. And I was talking with my daughter about it, and she's like, "Well, you should name it after Daisy." And so we just kept playing it, because I'm like, I could call it Daisy Crochet, but I didn't want to limit it to just crochet, because I'm like, what if I want to add other crafts to the mix? So we came up with Daisy Stitch Co. Because
I
Stitch
love
could
it.
be all kinds of things.
Yeah,
So, and it just stuck. she's
that's
and she's
fantastic. I like it.
she's the company mascot.
That's so fun. That's so fun. Do you like the flower Daisy too? How did
I
Daisy, the
do.
dog, get her name?
Well, my daughter named her after the character from The Great Gatsby.
Oh,
At the time that movie had just come out, and she was like, Daisy would be, and she is a daisy. Like that just fits her. But I do have daisies in my flower bed, so. uh,
I love it. That's fun. That's fun. So, tell us a little bit about the last project you finished up, like your latest colorways, or you have a,
well, you were talking a little bit earlier. I'm adding a base. I've had just fingering, DK, and worsted weight, but I'm adding a base. I'm adding bulky weight. So that's what I've been working on lately. Here's a few of the colors coming
so
out, and these are going
beautiful.
to release next week. And they're going to be available in 14 different colors.
Ooh,
I just love the idea of a bulky weight. It's quick projects. You can make beanies, scarves, great for Christmas gifts when you're last minute, like, what am I going to do? And they just make it so quickly with the thicker yarn, and they're beautiful. You get those big kind of ropey stitches, and I love the look of it too. Um, so that's the next one of the next thing. Actually, next week is pretty busy. I've got the bulky coming out, and also I'm doing a self-striping for Halloween. Here it
ooh.
is. This is Haunted House. I'm trying to get the camera. Haunted House. And I've done a few self-striping. I'll show you it knitted up. Here's the
Oh my
side.
gosh, that's so fun.
Can you see it right? Okay.
It's totally Halloween. I love it. So,
Um,
okay, so will you have like sock sets where people can buy the big striping, and then the I assume those are minis that you made the
yeah,
toe and the
so
heel
it's
and
going to
the
be available. They can buy just the skein, or they can get the skein with two minis. The minis are orange and black. So that's coming out September 3rd, and it's a collaboration with Allison Clark. She's doing a knit along, or not knit along, a make along in October, and this is one of the featured colors of the
Oh,
make.
fun.
Yeah, and
Are they making
also
socks?
the make along
Or
is kind
whatever.
of whatever you want. Like it's more just like Halloween themed, but
Oh,
you can
okay.
make whatever. But just some fun Halloween socks, or beanies, or what have you. Um, and then I'm collaborating with you on a couple of your patterns, and this is the market ready hat, and it's stitched up in the Dusty Boots color. Look at that
Love that.
texture.
I
Oh
love that.
my gosh. So what's going to happen next week when the bulky releases? All purchases of bulky yarn will get two free patterns from Sarah, or they're from me, but they're Sarah's patterns. Um, this hat, the Market Ready hat, is knit, and then the Be Bold hat is crochet. And this is Mulled Merlot and French vanilla.
So I was lucky to get some of your yarn ahead of time, and I've just been like gazing at it and squishing it. So I have the Dusty Boots. This is like, okay, I love a good cool neutral. And this is the perfect, to me, like the perfect neutral, cool cream color.
Oh yeah.
You've got the French vanilla, right? And that one to me is more of a warm, right?
Yes,
Neutral.
yes.
It's a little more on the yellow side.
It is, yes.
Yeah. So that's really pretty. And then I love this color.
That's been one of my top selling colors is Mulled Merlot, especially, in fall and the holidays.
Yes. It's so pretty. And I am working up, if you know me, one of my favorite patterns is my Fiona headband.
Oh yeah.
I wear it a lot. I love a good headband. And it's perfect for those in between. So I'm making that up. And then can I share my other two colors?
Oh yeah, go for it.
Okay.
Go for it, yeah.
Caramel corn, which to me is just like, it's coming up a little more, at least on my computer screen, a little more yellowy, orangey than it really is. It's really just a gorgeous yellow. Actually, we're just coming out of sweet corn season here in the Midwest. And now I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh, it's just like sweet corn, where like there are bits of like really like a nice pale, not pale, but a little less intense yellow. And then there are like spots of like real intense orangey goodness. And then one of my favorite neutrals is kind of navy color. And this is slate. And again, I lean towards a cool neutral. They're just so pretty. And they're very soft.
They're very squishy.
Yes. 100% superwash merino. And 3-ply, which means that they're 3 strands wrapped together to make each strand of the yarn. And that makes for a really nice, strong yarn, which is lovely. And you get 106 yards for 100 grams, which is lovely.
Yes, and that for I've made a couple of beanies. My friend Rachel stitched these up, but I've made a couple of other beanies with it. And for like a medium size, 106 yards is perfect for just one skein for a beanie. Worked out nicely.
That's great. Yeah, I think that's a good amount of yardage. Great for quick small projects, like you were saying. Perfect for gifting.
Yes. Yeah, and like the headbands, that's a great gift too. It's perfect for that kind of project. And I'm eyeing a knit vest that uses bulky weight. I'm thinking about making that. But the problem with Texas, like, when am I going to wear it? It's like one time, one day.
It's cold. It's cold. Quick, get out the vest.
Right. It's cold today. I got to wear it.
I love it. That's fun. I was looking at these thinking a big chunky like color work cowl would be fun.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I love when it's cold to just like throw on a big chunky cowl and have all that warm coziness around your neck.
Nice. Yeah, I think that would be great for that. Definitely.
So are you willing to share? I saw a couple colors there that I hadn't even seen yet.
Yes, so this is pumpkin spice.
Oh, fun.
It's kind of it's showing up as brighter orange, but it's more of a darker brownish orange. And I have, this is brick red.
Oh.
So it's more of a, I'm how do we get in the camera here? It's more of a brownish red. And this is autumn gold, which is it's a bright, lovely gold color.
Beautiful.
And then I showed you this is Zen Moments. Was the August release, and the Mission Fig is coming back. It'll be coming back out in the next few weeks.
That's fun. That's gorgeous. So many pretty colors in there.
Yeah, well, I love that one. One of my favorites. Fun.
So when you have an inspiration, okay, first I'm going to back up. I'm going to go back to the bulky. That is going to be available starting when?
September 1st. So this next week, it'll go live on the website. And I'll be posting stuff on social media too. If you are a newsletter subscriber, you'll get an email. If not, you just subscribe so you'll get a notice that it's available. And like I said, with every purchase for a limited time, they'll get Sarah's patterns for free along with their order.
That's awesome. So is it a pre-order or are these ready to ship?
They're ready. They're ready. And I'm kind of testing it to see how it sells. I have a limited amount right now, but once we'll see how it sells, and then I'll just keep, it may be a permanent addition if people really like it and are interested in it. So kind of at first we're just testing the waters a little bit.
I love it. That's a great idea. That's a great way to do new things, to see what people are interested in.
And I haven't talked about this. I also have a subscription box.
Tell us about that.
It's called That Sock Set Box. And I started it in the beginning of this year, and it's every other month. And the box includes a sock set. So they get a skein of yarn and 2 minis. And then there's lots of surprise extras in the boxes. And that's always so fun to come up with things. It could be stitch markers. There was a candle in the last one. Sometimes there's cookies. So there's every time it's a surprise what the extras are going to be. There is an option to just get the yarn only. But I really enjoyed putting these boxes together this year. It's really fun. The next one's coming out in a few weeks. I'll start previewing the October box. So be on the lookout for the previews of that. And then it won't be too long. The Christmas box will be coming out.
Right.
November.
Doesn't feel like it, but Christmas is right around the corner.
It is.
I love it. So do you try to work on like a release schedule? Do you try to release a new set of colorways every so often, or do you just like, I'm inspired by this and let's make a fig colorway?
All right.
Or is it a mixture of both?
I release a new colorway once a month, and then every other month a new sock set. But then occasionally I come up with a color that I like. I did it's called All the Pinks about a month ago. I was like, what would it look like if I just threw every pink dye on the yarn? Because I have like 5 or 6 different pink dyes, all different shades, and it turned out really cute. So I'm like,
turns out amazing. Apparently, I've seen it. Yeah. It's super cute.
I listed and I made a pair of socks with it, and it was just like a fun experiment. But so I, what the heck, just listed it. So occasionally I'll have some one-offs there. But I try to stick to a schedule. I've made a real effort this year to be a little more organized and plan better. Since I'm doing the subscription box, kind of have to stay like on a schedule. Um, and then several times a year, I'll do a sale where I sell like the ones that didn't quite make the cut.
Oh, fun. Yeah, because I
So
suppose it takes some amount of experimenting every time you do a new
yeah,
colorway.
and they're still beautiful skeins, but they're not the color that, I ended up releasing. So I mark those down a lot, because part of my what I like to do in my business is, not everyone can go and buy, a hand-dyed skein of yarn. But if I do this a few times a year and mark them way down to like $10 or $12, I feel like that gives more people an opportunity to at least try it. And that's fun too, because just to see what people make with like the one of a kinds is really interesting too. So
I love to get. I actually have a couple one of a kinds. She must have dyed 2 in the pot. She had 2 one of a kind colorways from my friend Fatima, and like I know they're coming, and so I'm like stalking the mailman. But it's there are a few times I've bought one of a kind colorways and been like, oh, I wish there were more of this. But it is fun. It's fun because, like you said, just because it doesn't exactly fit your vision doesn't mean it's not an amazing colorway and great yarn.
yeah,
And just because it wasn't your vision, or maybe like everybody has, personal preferences. And so just because it wasn't
definitely.
something you love doesn't mean somebody else won't take it and make something with it and just adore it.
Exactly. Yeah, definitely.
That's wonderful. What a great opportunity for some people to have an opportunity, like you said, to use
Right.
hand-dyed yarn,
Right.
because it can be very cost prohibitive
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
purchase hand-dyed yarn.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, like before I started doing this, I mean, I couldn't buy it, so, I'm, doing it myself. I feel like I have just the pick of the candy store.
So do you? Because I don't think I would have any self-control. I would be like, I'll take one of these, then I'll take one of these, and I'll take one of these, and I'll take one of these. And
I
is
try
it hard
at
sometimes?
it is because it's like, oh, I need to stitch up something with this and with this, but then, I don't have time to stitch up something with everything. So I do, my friend Rachel, she makes samples for me a lot of times. So that's been really helpful. And I still buy other dyers yarn because I'm still addicted to yarn, even though, I dye my own yarn. I have a Yarnable subscription because I just love her. Cheryl is the dyer. I love her colors. And so, I kind of have a mix of using my own and other dyers too.
I love it. That's awesome. That's fantastic. So if someone is interested in knowing about like when those fun sales and new colorways and stuff are happening, the best way to know that is to sign up for your email, right?
Yes, they can sign up for my newsletter. I don't spam you. I send out maybe on average once a week, just kind of with what's new, what sales are going on. And if they follow me on Instagram or Facebook, I always post the sales and new releases on there as well. But I feel like the newsletter, sometimes I give little bonus coupons and, other extras in the newsletter that you may not find out about otherwise. Or like limited releases and things like that.
Well, and I mean, let's be honest. I have people on Instagram that I'm like, you see their stuff for a while and then it kind of disappears and you're like, wait, where did that person go? So you as a person have control over what comes into your inbox.
Right.
And the social media algorithms,
whether Instagram shows you their posts or not,
right, has control over what you see there. So I'm not
Right.
discouraging anyone from going and following you on all the things, but I am encouraging people that if you want to be in the know, sign up for the newsletter. So I have
Yes.
a link in the description to your website.
Yes.
They can just
And
go to
when
your website.
Yeah, you can go to my website. There's several places at the very bottom of the first page. And also there'll be a pop-up. If you're browsing around, you'll get a pop-up that says, do you want to subscribe? Um, but in case you miss that, or sometimes you just X out without reading it, there's other spots on the front page of the website that you can sign up.
Perfect. Perfect. So I know a lot of times when I'm like trying out a new yarn dyer, I like to get I like to test it out on a sale. But I'm gonna give a plug here that I can say I have the yarn. It is squishy. It is soft. It smells nice, which is not always the case. It does smell nice.
Right.
And the colors are absolutely gorgeous. And I one of the things that I think would be the most challenging about yarn dyeing would be getting the colors across in the pictures and posts and everything that you share. I have absolutely purchased yarn online and received it and thought, that's not how I remember that looking. That was not the case. You sent me some pictures. I picked my colors and they came and I was like, exactly what I expected.
Well, good.
So I mean, really, it's a challenge. And I think with social media, sometimes there's like an idea that like you just throw a filter on everything and then like your feed is cohesive. But if you're a yarn dyer throwing a filter on everything, it can skew what your colorway actually looks like. But you do a very nice job photographing.
To get it to look as close as possible. I play with the photo editing, or I play with the lighting or whatever. And I really try hard to get it as close as possible. That can be really challenging sometimes.
It can be. There are certain colors that are very hard to photograph.
Yeah, like the darker colors, the self-striping, it was hard to photograph to really capture all the nuances in there. It actually looks better on this than it does in my pictures.
Well, and I have to say, seeing it skeined up like that and then seeing it in the sock really, I mean, I guess you're seeing more of the yarn, when it's knit up in a sock.
Yeah.
But all of the, I saw color variations in the sock that I didn't see in the skein.
Yeah.
It's really gorgeous.
Yeah. And like I said, if I can get samples made, or I did these socks because I couldn't wait. I was like, I gotta stitch these up right now. But even like this is with the black as the contrast color, and this is with the orange. You see how different, like it pulls out different colors. Yeah, can't get the whole sock in the picture.
It's hard to do.
So it's very interesting how different it can look with a different contrast color. So
yeah. And something I've seen you doing a lot on your Instagram is you often have collections, like your the pink skein that you were talking about before has the big skein, but then you also had several mini skeins that went along with it. And that, I think that's really helpful to help people who maybe struggle a little bit with like what colors to put together and what that'll look like.
Yeah, I like to, when I release a new color, I like to put it together with a collection of coordinating colors so they can look at it side by side with other colors to see like what will go with that. They don't have to use those colors, but it's helpful. Or a lot of people have said, they like it's quick shopping. You can just see the collection there. Yeah, I want that. You're done. You're not spending time like, oh, what colors? I don't know what to pick.
I've done that. Like
yeah.
multiple screens up
Oh
of the
yeah.
same yarn dyer's yarn, trying to like, well, will this go with this, and will that go with that? And if I need this, would it?
Yeah, I've done the same thing, and so I like to try and offer with each colorway a sock set, a mini set. Occasionally, I'll offer like as a set, like 5 skeins that coordinate in a set. So you have more choices. You can depending on what you want to make with it, you can see all that together. And I have I'm gonna have 4 bases. So it really opens up to more people that if they want to use DK or worsted, they have that choice.
Yeah, absolutely. That's fantastic. All right. You've told us a lot of yarn you're working on right now, like dyeing stuff. Do you have a whip that you're working on currently?
I do. I should have brought it in here with me. I'm a sucker for a knit along or a make along. I love them. I love working, like you can see everybody's working the same thing as you. And I'm doing the Casa Pinka mystery knit along. And it's so fun. It's called Share and Air, and it's all written from the perspective of her cat. It is the cutest thing ever. It's so funny because the writing, like there's, abbreviations and misspelled words because it's like the cat is telling. I love it. It's so much fun. This is the 3rd week, and it's just been really fun to do that. This week, I just finished 2 projects that I started like years ago. So
awesome.
I was cleaning out some stuff, and I found these 2 blankets that I never finished. And I was like, why didn't I finish these? I think we had moved several years ago, and I packed them up, and then I just forgot about them. So the past couple weeks I've been working on finishing those, which was challenging because it's like, what pattern, what yarn was this, what hook did I use, but I got it figured out, and I've finished those up. So because I don't always finish every project that I start, but these were like almost finished. Like one just needed a border, and one just needed like a few more inches. And so I was like, I gotta finish these,
That's
so
awesome.
I've been working on lately.
That's fantastic. Okay, I'm going to ask you some favorites, and you can choose if you want to do like some of them. It's not going to be yarn dyeing because you can't have a favorite place to dye yarn. You kind of have to do it where you're yarn dyeing.
Right.
So you can go back and forth between making versus dyeing if you want.
Yeah,
so
sure.
What is your favorite place to work?
I have a chair in my living room, and it's one of those like chair and a half big chairs. So, the dogs can sit with me. And I have a lamp there, and it's by the window, and I can sit there and put on music or turn the TV on, and it's just relaxing. Knitting and crochet is very like meditative for me. It helps me de-stress, and that's my favorite place to just sit with my dogs and do my stitching.
I love it. That's wonderful. What is I'm going to make this double. What is your favorite yarn to work with, and what is your favorite yarn to dye?
My favorite yarn to work with is DK. It's just so versatile. You can make socks with it, and you can make a blanket with it. You can make, a sweater. I mean, we can go on and on, but it's just, to me, very versatile. And my favorite to dye is fingering weight. The particular base that I have, just the way it takes the colors, and there's something about it. It always looks better on the fingering weight to me sometimes than the DK or the worsted. So yeah, that's my favorite.
Yeah, the colors just land a little differently depending on the base that it's on.
Yeah, they do. They do.
I love it. Do you have a favorite hook or needle to work with, whether it's size or
So
material it's made out of or brand?
my favorite crochet hook, I have some of the Furls Odyssey hooks. That was a splurge buy for me a couple of years ago. I had always used like Susan Bates or I had this one set I got at Hobby Lobby, and it's a good set. I still use the size, for the sizes I don't have. But I just got through with those couple of projects, and I used the 4mm, which I think is the G, and I just love that. Just the weight of it. It's just really, the stitches come out nice and crisp. For knitting though, I use ChowGoo needles. And I never thought I'd say this, but I love that 9-inch circular, the little tiny one for socks. When I first learned socks and I first saw that needle, I was like, there's no way I'm going to be able to use that. But now I love it. It's quick, it's smooth. I do carry the ChowGoo needles on my website. So I have a selection for whatever project I normally have a needle, but it's just a good brand, and I just love the feel of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like a lot of thought has gone into making the ChowGoo needles. They're really sleek. They're really sturdy. They're really, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes, definitely.
Me too is what I'm saying. That's funny what you say about the 9-inch circulars, because I decided I was going to try socks, and I have half of one. I'll get there. I need to sit. What I need is I need the time to sit down and watch the video of the heel turn. That's where I'm at.
Yes.
But I immediately said, yes, 9-inch circulars. I want nothing to do with double pointed needles for a whole entire project.
Right.
Do not give me magic loop. I want none of that.
Yes. So yeah, to me, I've done magic loop, and I don't mind magic loop, but I just feel like 9-inch is quicker. And what helped me when I learned socks was just doing a little bit at a time, just thinking about it in chunks, like just the cuff. Because I took a class, and that's what we did. Like, you just do the cuff, and now you're going to do the leg. And just to think about it in little pieces like that is really helpful.
Yeah. I feel like it's one of those things that once I do it, it'll be done, but it's the unknown of not having done it yet.
Right.
And having the children around all time this summer.
Yeah.
When I need like some real concentrated
exactly.
time.
Yes.
Sit and listen and do the things without needing to get a snack or break up a fight or, all the things.
Oh yeah. Been there.
I love it. What's your favorite thing to drink while you work?
I'm a Texas girl through and through. It's got to be Diet Dr. Pepper. I love my Diet Dr. Pepper. I drink a lot of tea, though. I'm a big tea drinker. And I have a couple of favorites. There's this one by Republic of Tea called Blackberry Sage, and it's my favorite. I drink it hot and cold, like almost every day.
Oh, I'll have to check that out. That sounds fantastic. Do you have a favorite color?
I used to have one favorite color, and it was blue, just like a kind of a tealish blue. Mm-hmm. And now I don't know, like with doing all this dyeing, it's kind of opened my mind up to, like, I've always, pink has been an okay color for me, but dyeing now, like, I love pink now. Like, I want pink everything. And just kind of opening up my eyes and my brain to all these different colors has been like, it's hard to to choose. I for when I make things for myself, I stick in that blue green family usually. I did make a bright pink scarf last winter. I haven't got to wear it yet because it's never cold, but it's ready for whenever it gets cold.
I love it. Yeah, it's fun to go out of your comfort zone sometimes and do something just really bold.
Yeah, definitely.
What is your favorite season?
I've got to say spring. It's still, our springs in Texas, kind of, it's in like the 60s to 70s. You can wear shorts or you can wear, a light sweater. And it's just the flowers are blooming and I get a lot of inspiration from that. And, I just love that time of year.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Are you a book or a podcast person?
I am a big reader. I read a lot. I read both, paper, hardback, traditional books, and on my e-reader. I recently have gotten into podcasts though, because I like to turn them on while I'm dyeing, and have that kind of in the background. And I've learned a lot from some of the different knitting and dyeing podcasts. So I really enjoy that. Some I do on YouTube, some I do just listen to. There's one I really like, Maker's Gonna Sell. That's one of my favorite ones. They're yarn dyers, and they're kind of talking about from the yarn dyer's perspective. So I identify a lot with that. And I watch your podcast. And Nitty Natty is one of my favorite ones too.
She's fun.
She's so sweet, and I just like all the projects she's working on, and her dog.
Yeah, absolutely. That's fantastic. If you're going to pick up a treat, is it sweet or salty?
It's sweet. It's ice cream. That's
my your favorite flavor.
Oh, anything chocolate. Anything chocolate. And Bluebell is the big Texas brand, and I love Bluebell. Really, any flavor, but especially if it has chocolate.
That's fantastic. I usually ask people which is worse, swatching or weaving in ends. But I'm going to ask you, what is your least favorite chore of yarn dyeing?
Washing the pans at the end.
I wondered.
It's because, the actual dyeing part's like exciting and you're playing with the color and everything. But then it's time to clean up and put everything away. And I'm like, I'm over it by then, I'm like, I'm done. I don't want to do all this. So the washing the pans is the hardest part for me.
The washing of the pans is like the weaving in ends.
It is.
Yarn dyeing. You've had the exciting part of the creating, and now you just got to do those little chores.
I know. Because also, like, I've got to get every speck of dye off that pan because when I use it again, it might be a totally different color. And so I'm like, scrubbing away, making sure I got all of that. So, and and at the same time, I'm just like, oh, I hate this. But otherwise, it's fun.
I love it. That's fantastic. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. It has been so much fun to chat with you.
Yes, you too, Sarah. Thank you. I appreciate it. It's been fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll talk again soon.
Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Oh my goodness, always fun to meet a new maker. Learned a few things about yarn dyeing. I love that washing the pans is the weaving in ends of yarn dyeing. I bet lots of yarn dyers would agree to that. All the links in the description below. Please go check them out. Go follow Shelly. Go sign up for her newsletter so you don't miss out on new colorways and sales and all the good things. Always the best way to stay in contact with any maker or creator you love is to sign up for their email. Thank you so much for joining us today. If you enjoyed learning about Shelly, I have lots of Meet the Maker interviews. They'll be linked below too. I have more to come. So I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel, turn on notifications, and then YouTube will notify you when I post a new video. And if you would like this and share it with a friend, that would mean the world to both Shelly and I, because more people will get to know all about her and her wonderful yarn. Thank you again for joining me today, and happy crafting.